Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some of these charcoals that I just lit. Drop one on the floor, see if I can burn my foot.
What's a trivet?
Trivet is that. Something that'll keep it off the bottom.
That's a pretty cool holder that you have.
That's Camp Made. They got a thing set up there in the cultural hall. So, Ken Yoakum is the one that owns that company and has invented all this stuff. He does a good job at it. So, recommend you go talk to Ken if you want to learn about some of his stuff here. It's pretty cool. So that one right there, I'll show you too. It's really cool. It's a lid lifter, lid holder, trivet, all in one. Okay, so let's put that back up on there. Hang that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to stack the top of this thing up. So we're going to do a two-part process on this salmon, and we're going to go ahead and get it prepped here in just a second. But for right now, I'm just putting these coals on here and just going to let this get nice and hot. Really nice and hot. Okay. Put that in there. I'm going to put it in my dirty dishes that my wife is going to love me for when I bring home and throw in her sink. Alright, so we're going to take the salmon. I hope that it's thawed out. They froze it when they got it for me, so. Let's see.
If you do have an oven that had oil in it and the oil went rancid, how do you...
What you got to do is you got to strip it and clean it and then start over again. So the best way to strip it, the very best way is electrolysis, but not everybody is feasible for that. If you do want to do electrolysis, you buy one of those Rubbermaid containers, fill it up with water and washing soda or lye, either one. You just have to have some sort of a catalyst in there to provide for the electricity. And you get the car battery charger, and you hook the negative piece to the cast iron, drop it in the pot, and then you have the positive hooked to a post on the other side of it. And what it'll do is the electrical charge in there will break free all the stuff out of the pores of the cast iron. And in an hour, you'll pull out a shiny, clean, brand new cast iron ready to go.
Do you do this for people for pay?
Yeah. I've got it at my house, and I can definitely do it. That's not a problem. But like I said, that's not very feasible for a lot of people to do it because that's kind of a lot involved, right? So what I do...
See you soon.
Yeah. And I will adopt any old style cast iron from the 1800s, 1900s. If you need some that needs adopted, I do adoptions. So I'm happy to take it off your hands. Okay, and this is Atlantic salmon. The reason we do Atlantic salmon this time of year is because it's being caught fresh in Iceland right now and shipped here. This was fresh a couple days ago. I promise it got frozen ahead of this event.
You didn't mention the Coke.
So anyway, where the summertime, you want to use the Pacific varieties, which would be your silver salmons, your red salmons, sockeye coho, things like that. So, but right now, any of your Pacific salmons are going to be previously frozen, not near as fresh because they're caught in the summer, where the Icelandic salmon's being caught right now, so it's better. Anyway, there's my rant on salmon. So what we're going to do with this salmon...
It says Icelandic on it?
No, but most of your Atlantic salmon, as long as it says, if it says wild caught Atlantic salmon, that's where it's coming from this time of year.
So where do you get it from?
Harmon's and Smith's has it right now, both. So what we're going to do too is I'm going to drizzle every one of these with a little bit of oil. The reason I'm doing that is it'll hold the seasoning in, okay? This is canola oil, it's not going to hurt much. And you want to rub some of the oil in. I actually taught the scouts on Wednesday how to do this, and they did marvelous. We ended up doing salmon Oscar style. It was fantastic, and the boys just really loved it. They did a great job.
So do you live in the area?
I live in Provo.
Would you come and do a demonstration
I do demonstrations. I also teach cooking merit badge too if you need counselors for that. Okay, now whenever you throw seasoning loose like this, hold it up high. The wind's blowing, so don't hold it up quite so high. So I'm just going to put the black pepper on. The reason you do that is get a nice even stir. I never ever use shakers. I always use my fingers. It's just a lot more, I don't know, a lot more primal. Just like it.
Takes too long the other way, right?
No, that's just, I do have my own seasoning that I sell on my website. This right here, I'm trying to do things that are simple that you guys could replicate at home. So this is just Himalayan pink salt and black pepper. That's all I'm putting on here.
Can you roll it off your elbow?
You know what? Not very good. I did see that YouTube, that Vine or whatever my kids showed me. Dad, you need to learn how to do this. Yeah, so, and then what I'm going to put on here too, 2 more ingredients. Panko.
What?
Panko.
What is that?
It's Japanese breadcrumbs. It's like
Getting fish
crushed
fluffy.
cracker. It gives it a little texture.
Panko.
Panko. P-A-N-K-O.
Right now it's just bread.
You never mentioned the other way to strip or to restart instead of electrolysis.
Yeah. Sorry guys, I get off topic sometimes. So the other way to do it is you want to take cola. And it doesn't matter if it's Pepsi, Coke, any of them. You want to fill up your Dutch oven full of it, all the way to the brim. Oh, this is brown sugar, by the way. And you want to leave it at least overnight, sometimes even a couple of days, and that cola will eat away all the old oil and dissolve it right out. And you'll be left. Yeah, it makes you feel really good about drinking it. It'll strip oil off of your sidewalk. I mean, the stuff is pretty caustic. It's quite amazing. Well, it's actually acidic, not caustic, but either way, it works quite well. It's amazing that it can do that. So yeah, any kind of a cola like that works great.
Clean battery terminal.
Overnight, and then you just scrub it with soap and water, and then you want to re-season it. Now, all seasoning is burnt oil onto the cast iron. That's it. There's nothing more, nothing less. It's just burnt oil into the cast iron. So you take any kind of oil. I prefer canola oil. Camp Chef makes a cast iron conditioner that works rather well, but it's like $10 for a little tube of it. It's made out of palm oil. You just want an edible oil, and all you're going to do with that edible oil, wipe it all, every single surface, and then you want to put your cast iron. Wow, where'd this guy come from? I forgot I had that. Sweet. So, you want to put the oil in. You want to place it upside down in your grill out back, or in your oven in your house. If you use the oven in your house, the alarm will go off. I promise you, it will go off because it'll smoke. You want to keep it at about 500 degrees. You keep it for about 30 minutes, upside down like this. So if I was seasoning this in my grill right now, I'd set that in my grill, and I would throw the dishes at you. So, sorry about that, guys. I'd set it like that, and I'd set the lid just right on top of it like that. I set it in the grill. Maybe I probably ought to do it to the side so I don't have that problem again. Anyway, set it just like that in the grill, and I cook it for about 30 minutes on high, about as high as that grill will go, which is about 500 to 600 degrees usually. And when it stops smoking, just turn it off, let it cool down. Then I turn it over and look at it. If it looks like it needs more, I'll do it again. And you do it as many times as you want until you get the finish you want. Then once you're done, you wash it out with soap and water and dry it, and then you're ready to go. You can store it. Soap and water. Now, here's one thing you guys need to know. Absolutely, you can use soap and cast iron. Absolutely. Where it came from is that people were soaking their dishes with their grandma cooked a pot roast, and they took that dishwashing detergent, they dumped it in there, filled it up with water, and they soaked it, came back a few hours later, scrubbed it out, and then the next thing they cooked tastes like soap. So people say, oh, it's porous, it tastes like soap. Well, yeah, it tastes like soap if you allow it to get in the pores. The other thing is, too, if you look at Dawn dishwashing detergent, it says ultra concentrated. The Dawn people made, and if you read the instructions on Dawn, it says 2 to 3 drops per sink basin. That's drop, drop, drop. That's all you need in a whole sink basin. Now, everybody goes, It's ridiculous. I mean, they go for it. Now the Dawn people don't mind because they're selling you more Dawn, you know, because if you're just using it like crazy, I mean, you just buy more of it, right? So you want to use a light amount of soap. So if I use a little scrub brush, I'll put 1 drop in my cast iron with some hot water, scrub it out really good, and just as long as you can smell it afterwards, as long as you don't smell soap, you're fine. That's it. Now, dishwashers, absolute no-no, no matter what. Don't ever use a dishwasher on cast iron. That's the worst thing you could do to it. You will destroy it. So, but that's because the detergents in dishwashers are a really harsh detergent, and they tend to really make a mess.
And no salt.
Salt is really bad for it. If you use salt, rinse out immediately. I've seen it around Facebook like crazy that people say throw rock salt, put a half a potato, scrub your cast iron. Now you want to draw the correlation. Every time there's a storm here in Utah, Supersonic Car Wash has a line of cars 5 blocks deep trying to get in there. Why? Because the state has salted the roads and people are trying to wash the salt out of their cars. Well, why? Because it destroys the metal. It eats the metal. It causes your car to rust, your frame to rust, everything to rust. So they want to get rid of that salt. So this is metal. This is the same metal that you got your car's engine block is made out of. You know, why do you want to put salt into it? When you're doing that, you're grinding salt into it. Now, it doesn't mean if you've done that that all is lost. You can still just rinse it out. I mean, in fact, the next thing you cook, it'll release most of the salt. Not going to hurt you. So it is there. But just know that's not a good idea. That's a way to prematurely ruin your cast iron. So, yeah.
How do you like to store them?
Do what?
How do you store them?
The way I store them, ideally, is just like this, on a wire rack with one upside down like that and the lid just like that. That's the best way to store them. But if you don't have that ability, which a lot of people don't, what I do is just take a paper towel, place a paper towel between the lid and the Dutch oven just like that. And that allows it to wick the moisture backwards and forth. Now, if you leave it for a year, you're going to have a little bit of rust in there when you open it up. Whoopity-doo. Take a little oil, wipe it off. Soap and water, wipe it off, you're fine. That's just a back to cast iron. But I'd rather have a little spot of rust than I would to have rancid cast iron. So, yes, you have a question?
Quick question about curing. I used to love to cure with peanut oil until my son got allergic to peanuts.
Yep.
So just be careful what oils you use if there's chance of allergies or something.
The very best ones that I've used, palm oil is great. Canola oil is great, and it's the cheapest. Peanut oil works well, but there again, if you got people with allergies, it's a big thing. I mean, at Trek this year we had 3 or 4 people in the group that had peanut allergies, and I had to be really careful about that. So I'm glad I didn't season with peanut oil. So just be careful and aware of that. Lard works pretty good, but lard has a distinct smell / flavor / you're either into a whole lard or you're not. I mean, not really my deal, but anyhow. Let's check this Dutch oven here and see how hot we're getting.
Do you have a preference to this detergent?
Not really. Whatever's on sale, whatever's cheap. Rather, I should say, whatever the boss lady buys, that's what I use. So.
That's pretty long.
Yeah, is that your biscuits?
Do what?
Is that your biscuits? Is that the roll?
No,
The rolls
that's
are down.
where I'm going to cook the salmon. The rolls are right here. They're rising. They're getting hot. Right here in this one, I've got the potatoes on the top one, and I've got the cobbler on the bottom one. I mean, if you guys want to take a look, I can open the lid and let you take a look at it. Potatoes are going great. Exactly what we want to have happen. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You don't want to stir
Got a
them.
video.
If you stir them, you're going to have mashed potatoes. So that's one trick about doing roasted potatoes. Wait till they're done. But in the meantime, don't stir them. Okay, so I'm going to go set this on here for right now. You take a look at this cobbler. It's probably not doing a lot at the moment.
Oh, it's raised.
Oh, yes it is, actually. Oh, yeah. That's looking great, guys. Okay.
Start off with the coals that are mostly
No,
black
the
and
red's
stick
on the ground.
Yeah.
It's just right.
I like to have a little bit of gray on them, you know. So you can see these coals have been going for a while. Look, if I knock them down, they're kind of small now, you know. Okay.
No pattern really, it's just they're typical going off and that's it.
Yeah, this is what one of his inventions is this camp made. You can use it for your lids, things like that. You can set it right over the top, stretch that down, pick up your lid really quite nicely. You can actually use your lid to cook on. You can put coals on that lid and then cook right on that. So Ken in there with Camp Made, he's got those. This is his lid kickstand. Actually, you can take the lid off and you can set it down like this and have the lid off, and so it's not in your food. So not really feasible for what I'm doing. I'm actually grateful to Ken because in my haste to get over here today, I forgot my lid lifter, which is really stupid of me to do, but I did. So I'm very appreciative of Ken and helping me out. So he's good people. He got a nice product. So okay. So get back into Dutch oven cooking. Was there some other questions that people had? Fire away. What's that?
How long do you let the rolls rise?
Till they're risen. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck. That's just
Not yet.
not even close. That's the problem with working with a frozen dough. It's going to take a while.
Is that a reason to put more coals on, or do you need to just leave it be?
Best thing is just to leave it be. We may not end up having rolls, guys. I don't know. If it doesn't rise, I'm not even going to bother. So, but you don't want to rise it fast because then you end up just cooking the bottoms and then you get a really grainy roll. You want to let them rise naturally. But in the time that we have, I don't even know what time it is. 3 o'clock. We got an hour.
We got an hour.
Yeah. If they rise in the next half hour, we're good to go. So maybe what I'll do is put a couple more coals just right on the lid, just get a little bit more heat on it.
What do you think the upper bound is for how much temperature you could put on there?
You don't want to be more than 120 degrees in there.
Okay.
Ideally 115 is where you want to be. So when you proof bread and things like that, you usually do it at 113. So you want to get a little bit more precise with it. Okay, so does somebody want to come up and light some more charcoals for me? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some of these ones that are already here. Let's go ahead and put those black ones back into this oven, and then we'll put some more in there, pour some more lighter fluid, and away we're going to go.
So Matt, do you have a preference on the lid lifters? Do you have a preference on that?
I mean, I really like this one. It's pretty awesome design. So you can just fit it on like that. It's pretty nice. I like that a lot.
Then it doesn't rot.
And then you can use it as a trivet too, because then you can sit it down like that. Put that up like that. Pretty slick. So I do like that one a lot.
About how many more do you want?
Half of it.
About a half a basket. So yeah, let's put it about up to there. But really, I've used everything from channel lock pliers, vice grips, hammers, sticks. So pretty much whatever you can imagine, I've used it as a lid lifter. So
Anything that doesn't burn your hands?
pretty much, you know, and I just find that I'm somewhat resourceful. I mean, well, at times, I was going to say, I went up ice fishing the other day. I was so resourceful that I locked my keys in my truck. And I was able to use a screwdriver, a pair of channel locks, and a fishing pole to unlock my truck. So
That was good.
thank heavens, because I was 2 hours up the mountain.
How much lighter fluid?
Lots.
Just probably use,
Or should I just let you do this?
yeah. And we want to let it soak for a while. Let it ester in there really good.
What's a good cheap alternative to a metal stand if you can't get one like
You
that?
can just put tinfoil on the ground. Just
Just use
that
tinfoil?
works. Yeah.
Okay.
So tinfoil on the ground works. You can use a piece of metal that just sits on the ground. Yeah, you don't always have to go get a
It's
stand.
nicer on your back to have a stand.
I like the stand because I don't like bending over or kneeling down every time I use my Dutch oven. And you know, one time I tried to do the whole buried in the ground deal. Everybody's heard of this. Oh yeah, let's dig a hole in the ground and then throw some coals in there and then put the Dutch oven in there and then come back later and it's all done. Bad idea. Yes, it cooked. No doubt about it, it cooked. And it didn't burn, it actually cooked right. However, in the process of unburying the Dutch oven, it dumped a whole thing of Beaver Mountain dirt and ash into the stew. And here we have two kids that have been hunting and hiking all day long that are looking forward, because you could smell the Dutch oven cooking from half-mile away up the mountain. You know, you can just smell it. We're riding the horses back down and just so excited for this, and we unbury this thing and we knocked all that sand and garbage in there. Oh. And we're so hungry anyway, just from lack of calories, being 16-year-old kids and everything. We gobbled it up anyway, but man, it's just terrible. Just terrible. So I don't recommend that either. If you do, line your hole, cover it, so you can remove all the stuff off the top of it. It works a lot better. So, okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to throw the half stick of butter in the bottom of here in this Dutch oven. This is the one we're going to do the salmon in. Okay, go ahead and light that one now. You can just light that paper towel on the bottom. That would be great.
That might go a little quicker.
Do you tend to stay with one brand of Dutch ovens? Or?
No, not really. As I've said before, I actually work for Camp Chef as pro staff. I like the Camp Chef Dutch oven mainly because I don't have to pay for them, so it makes it nice. And you know, Lodge actually has a bit better of a Dutch oven. It's because they're injection molded instead of true sand cast, so a little tighter tolerance, but they're also double the price. So, yeah, in my opinion, are the Lodges twice the value of the Camp Chefs? No. If I had to choose which is the better one, Lodges, yeah. Now, my best Dutch ovens, I have Dutch ovens at home that are worth several $100s that those are the ones I personally use. These are 100-year-old Dutch ovens, or Wagnerware, Griswolds, things like that. And they are a lot nicer because they were machined, not only cast, but they're machined. And if you were to take a run-of-the-mill Dutch oven like that, they sell this one right here at Sportsman's Warehouse. When you go for Father's Day or Mother's Day, they sell these little 10-inch ones right there for 17 bucks. My cost from Camp Chef is $16.50. Sportsman's Warehouse is making 50 cents on those Dutch ovens. They're doing that so that you'll buy the stands and the lid lifters for outrageous costs, and they're making their profits on that. So let me tell you what, if you want to go during those sales and buy these Dutch ovens. It's $16.99, $17 for that. That's a great deal for that Dutch oven. I've got, oh heck, probably 30 of those. I love them. And that's what I use most of the time. It's just a great little Dutch. So, okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and use the Camp Made tool.
How many people can you cook for in a 10-inch Dutch oven?
8 people. 8 people, yep, all day long I can cook 8 people. I can cook 12 people on a 12-inch. So, okay, now you can see we got plenty of heat in there. Let's go ahead and take that salmon. We'll just set it skin side down right in there.
Matt, where did you get your table?
I got it from Camp Chef. However, I think that you can buy them at any of the major outdoor retailers.
How much do they cost?
The tables?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest with you. I'm sure somebody here would know better. I can build one for you at my shop and have it for, you know, 30 bucks, 35 bucks is what I charge to do that. It's not very much to it, but buying the Camp Chef ones, I'm sure they're probably in the $50 range. I just don't know, and I don't dare tell you a price. Like I said, I don't pay for them. They just let me use them. Well, I do pay for them. I go out and do demos. And I mentioned Camp Chef, so I do pay for them. Okay, any other questions so far?
What kind of charcoal?
Kingsford Blue Bag. That's the only stuff I use.
So you don't care about the match light, or?
I hate Matchlight. They say it burns up way too fast, in my opinion. And it doesn't burn near as hot either, yeah. So I don't care for the Matchlight. The Kingsford Blue Bag seems to be the most consistent of anything I've ever used. There are some others that are really good, like Royal Oak. However, there's no sense in using Royal Oak for doing Dutch oven cooking because you're not getting any flavor from the charcoal when you're cooking Dutch oven. there's no flavor whatsoever. If you're using a Weber grill or a barbecuing, then you want to go for a royal oak because you're looking for that hardwood flavor in there. But as far as this, because Kingsford is made from sawmills up in Oregon, they just take all the saw mills from all the pine and the cedar and things like that, and they compress it into the bricks and then they char it. It's a real consistent, really good burn. But as far as flavor wise, there are one better for flavor, but with this, it's not going to matter anyway.
Online, you can't ship tables $99.99.
Do what?
Online, you can't ship tables $99.99.
$99.99?
With the panels that go around to the wind.
Oh, okay.
With what?
The panels that go around to keep the wind.
Yeah, with the tool panels. Like the one I carry in my camping trailer has those panels on them. They're pretty nice. So get it nice and hot.
That's just empty right now.
And I'm going to put a little oil in there.
You ever cook bacon with vegetables?
Sure, all the time.
Do your Dutch ovens ever get so worn out that you have to get another one?
No.
He just gets another one.
I've had a couple break. I had one that was given to my wife and I 20 years ago on our when we got married, and it dropped and broke the lid, and that was pretty devastating for me because I really like that Dutch oven. I mean, it wasn't that special a Dutch oven. It's more the fact that it was a wedding gift and something that we'd had for 20 years, you know. So it happens, but
Tell them about putting it on the fire.
oh yeah. So every Scoutmaster in this world has done this. I've seen this a dozen times. I've heard people tell people to do this. That if they can't clean out their Dutch ovens, to throw it on the fire and burn it out. Bad news. Your campfire, the little parts of your campfire, just your regular campfire in the mountain, burns about 1,300 degrees. That's hot enough to melt most metals. Aluminum will melt at 1,300 degrees. That's why you can throw your pop can on there and watch it burn up and melt. Okay, that's way too hot for cast iron. You put that in there, what happens is your cast iron warps, because especially those point of contacts that get that 1,300 degrees, it actually twists and warp it. Then you have a Dutch oven, and instead of having a nice tight lid, see how tight that lid is? You get what I call the Scoutmaster lids. They're like a rocking chair. You go, dum, 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 dum. That's what happens. So it's really not a good idea to do.
One thing I noticed, you're not, I feel like when I Dutch oven, rotating the things a lot, you don't really do that much.
Why?
I don't know, I do the lid one way.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, and what I'm trying to show you is that it's
easier,
simple. It's just let it go, you know. I mean, I don't want to break out into a Frozen song, but let it go.
So it sounds like you're not a fan of like a campfire, putting it out on a campfire.
Campfire's fine as long as you're cooking it fine. Like if you have a trivet, or I mean a tripod that hangs over the campfire with a chain, you want to cook it that way, that's fine. But you're also keeping that air gap between the flame and the Dutch oven. And if you've got your campfire down to coals, you know, where it's just nice coals and you break it up, set it in there, no problem with that. That's zero problem. Because the coals aren't that hot and the coals will burn for a long time. They're a lot more gentle. What you don't want is that active licking flame that has a blue at the bottom. That's where it's so hot. So it just gets really, really hot, and it's not good for your Dutch oven. It's not good for cast iron, period. So, but as far as cooking in a campfire, that's fine. That's no big deal at all. So, but just use one of those other methods to do it.
You ever use like your camp chef and set them on top of your camp chef and they put coals on top of them? Or
On the Camp Chef stove? No, because the Camp Chef stoves have two temperature controls. They've got molten hot lava and fiery pits of hell. They really are. I mean, they're amazing. They're a 35,000 BTU burner. I mean, it's awesome. You can really get some heat real fast with the Camp Chef stove. And so it's just way too much heat on the bottom of that to do. Unless you're cooking like a stew or something like that, you can use it for that. But oftentimes I found that when you're turning it down low enough to do that, the wind really plays a factor and blows your flame out a lot. So I especially dealt with that at Trek this year up in Wyoming, because the wind is only being held back by a barbed wire fence and it's not stopping much. So, I mean, I had my Camp Chef stove. I had 10 layers of tin foil all the way around it, and tarp around that, and trying to keep it, you know, from going. But yeah, anyway. That's my opinion on that. They do have the Camp Chef dome that you can set on your Camp Chef stove, and it's a plate, a heat diffuser that tries to direct the heat to the outside. And then you have an asbestos and metal-lined tent that sits over the top that you can bake in. You can do it. It does work. However, you're always going to have a dark, heavy bottom. It doesn't cook perfectly. It always is pretty heavy. So just be aware that that's going to be the case. If you use this method, you're never going to burn your food unless you just, well, even if you go away from it, the charcoals will burn out before you burn your food. You're not going to burn it. So that's the good thing. Now I've actually had that Camp Chef work pretty good if I use 2 heat diffuser plates instead of 1, then set it up on. That's worked okay. But there again, if you're paying $65 for the system, you know what I mean? You don't want to buy 2 just to have 1. Now I use those tents all the time when it's in a, there's a domestic sourdough versus a wild sourdough.
Which one do you like?
I like wild personally, but
Wild is cooked in
pretty
your
sour.
no, wild means that you develop the strain yourself.
Okay.
Basically, to make a wild sourdough, you take flour and water, equal proportions, a cup of flour, a cup of water. Whole wheat flour. Don't ever use white flour for this. Use whole wheat. The reason why is because you're in the fermentation process, you're releasing flavors from the endosperm of the grain that's removed otherwise, and it gives you a really sweetness that you don't get otherwise. Anyway, mix it half and half. Add a little bit of pineapple juice to it. The reason why is it increases the pH just enough. You can use pineapple juice, lemon juice. Hey, we're kind of rising. I don't think we're going to be doing rolls, but they're there. So,
It's about another 9 minutes.
what's that?
You said you needed a half hour, right? I got 9 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so real simple. You just mix it in a jar, and you're going to watch it for about 3 to 4 days. What it'll do is it'll rise all the way to the top, and then it's going to fall. When it collapses, you're good to go. Now you got a sourdough. Now, if you smell it, it is going to smell like gym socks, something fierce. It is disgusting. Okay, because your sourdough has not been tamed yet. You cannot use it at that point. It will taste awful. So what you got to do then is you scrape any of the crust off, whatever else, and then you mix in another batch of water and flour, equal proportions, and dump that sourdough into it. Mix it half and half. Then you let that rise and fall. You do that about 3 or 4 times, and then all of a sudden you got a tame sourdough that's amazing, and that's a wild sourdough. Now, one of the misconceptions a lot of people have, I hear it all the time, they're like, oh, I got this from my grandmother's starter, it's 150 years old. Yeah, BS, it's 3 weeks old. Yeast does not live over 3 weeks. Okay? That's the lifespan of yeast is 3 weeks. Now, you may have a culture that has been continually fed and bred, but there's no such thing as yeast over 3 weeks. So if you go to California and you buy a San Francisco sourdough starter, you'll have it for 3 weeks and that's it. Because once it grows and develops, it will be a completely different strain. It'll breed with the natural yeast in the air, and it'll be a hybrid strain. So you can never have a pure San Francisco sourdough outside of San Francisco. Just back to life. So I always laugh when they're like, oh yeah, well they bought this starter because it was 150 years old. I'm like, whoopity-doo. You know, make your own. It's easy.